Ramaniyang avuso ananda, Gosingasalavanang, dosina rati, sabha Pali pula sala, dibba manye, gandha sampavanti. Katang rupena avuso ananda, bhikkhuna Gosingasalavanang sobeyati. Friend Ananda, Gosinga's Sal Grove is delightful. The night is moonlit. The sal trees are in full bloom. And it seems to me that the aromas blowing about are divine. What kind of monk might make Gosinga's Sal Grove resplendent? Now, when Sariputta addresses Ananda, he calls him friend, avuso, which is, according to the Pali English Dictionary, plural in form, but singular in meaning. Friend Ananda. Then we'll take our subject is actually Gosingasalavanang. We've come across vanang before, a grove. And what kind of grove? A grove of sal trees. And not only a grove of sal trees, but a grove of sal trees of Gosinga. This is a personal or a proper name. So we might say Gosinga's Sal Grove. Gosinga's Sal Grove is, this is an equational or nominative sentence, Ramaniyang. It's beautiful, is delightful, pleasing, pleasant. So you can imagine being in a grove of trees that are flowering actually at night, and you can imagine which word you think sums this up. Actually, they all seem to apply, and it's hard to just choose one. Luckily, when we read this in the Pali, we don't have to just choose one. Dosina rati. Now, I should say Ramaniyang. Let's go back here. Ramaniyang is an adjective, so it's agreeing with vanang. It is nominative, accusative, singular. Then Sariputta talks about rati, the night. Now, this is feminine, singular, and he describes it as dosina. This is, the Pali English Dictionary gives clear night, moonlight. We might say moonlit. Maybe it's even a full moon. And the full moon is very bright, especially in the absence of artificial lighting. Then we get a description of the sal trees, the sala, singular salo or sala. These, again, this is plural. The sal trees, sabha Pali pula. Pali pula can be taken to mean one mass of flowers. Pula is blossoming or in blossom. So when we have sabha Pali pula, probably the best way to understand this is in full bloom. Now let's look at this manye. It comes from manyati, to think. Here, the Pali English Dictionary tells us that this short form first person singular of the optative can be inserted adverbially without affecting the syntactic structure of the sentence. I like this as it seems to me. So, and that makes sense because he's not really stating a fact in this situation. I think he's delivering a judgment. And what judgment is that? He is talking about, or he states that gandha, the aromas, the odors, the scents of the flowers in the trees, he calls them dibba, divine. I think we saw that in the Petavatu. These are both nominative, masculine, plural. A little more literally than I translated it before, it seems to me divine scents are blowing about, sampavanti. Sampavati is to blow, to be fragrant. The fragrance is blowing about. But I don't think we do any injustice to the original text by translating it as, it seems to me the aromas or the fragrances blowing about are divine. And again, I would have you, dear listener, picture that, or go out into some woods or your backyard or wherever on a moonlit night and let this image come alive. Now, up to here, the grammar, the syntax has been pretty clear. The last clause, however, is a little trickier. The one thing, let's go and look at our verb here. So, peya. So this is an optative of sobhati, which is the causative of sobati. So the causative form is to make resplendent, to adorn, to grace. In its optative form, it will mean something along the lines of could or might make resplendent. Now the issue here is Gosingasalavanang could be the object of that, But then we are not left with any expressed subject. So that would maybe turn this into some kind of impersonal construction. It might make resplendent Gosinga Sol Grove. That seems a little awkward. So I think Gosinga Salavanang is the actual subject here. And the tricky part is that I think this is really to be understood passively. This is an active form, but there's really no better way to understand this. But dear listener, if you do have a better way to understand this, please leave a comment and let me know of my oversight. One reason why this seems like it might have to be understood passively is because of something we skipped over here. Katang rupena bhikkhuna. Bhikkhuna is an instrumental form of bhikkhu, a monk. Katang rupena. This is an adjective describing that, bhikkhuna, and it means of what kind. Katang rupa, of what kind. Literally, by what kind of monk. And typically, when we get an instrumental, we're thinking about a passive verbal form. Something was done by someone or with something. So again, this is how I have arrived at my conclusion that this is a passive verb. I think Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation has this what kind of monk. In other words, taking that as the subject. And also in English, I don't think we favor the passive as much. So it does make a lot of sense to turn this around into an active construction. What kind of monk might make Gosinga Sol Grove resplendent? Now, just a little bit on the meaning here. You can read further, and this question is answered by these various venerable monks who have come to hear Sariputta. I think one way we could think about it is in a more metaphoric or allegorical way. We live in a world which at times is beautiful, it's divine, and what can we bring to it? How could we make this better? You know, what are we going to add to the world that would not detract from the world? So you can imagine this setting. It's a fabulous moonlit night. There are these amazing aromas blowing about. And what will we do to make it resplendent? How will we grace or adorn this place or this world? And that is where we will leave this discussion. Peace, everyone.